Hello, everybody. We're on just a couple minutes early, and we are just hanging out and chatting a bit among us. I appreciate everybody popping in and hanging out with us. We should have a good time. The chat's open. If you guys have anything you want to say at any given point in time, feel free to populate the chat. I'll start out by putting in a hello, so anyone else could populate the chat as well. We have 4 of us on the call today. I know you guys are used to me, Belinda Allen, and let's start with, we'll start with the South. Mariano Gomez. Say hi to everybody, Mariano.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you coming on board with us. This is definitely one of the greatest sessions we have, as we have a special guest with us today. So I'm looking forward to see what he's going to present.
Me too. And then now let's shoot over to the West Coast. We also have our favorite friend who, for some reason, turned his, there he is, Mr. Steve Endow, like window. Hello, Steve.
Greetings. Thanks for organizing, Belinda, and welcome from sunny Los Angeles.
Yeah. Is it warm there?
It is. Last night I had to turn the fans on. We're in the almost 80 degrees.
It's been warm here, but we had some rain, and it feels cold, doesn't it, Mariano? I see you have a jacket on.
It does. It's gonna be probably 55 degrees right now in my basement, so I can't imagine it being any colder outside or any warmer.
Well, the 3 of us are used to working from home, like a lot of people are doing right now. And our very special guest, I believe he also works from home a lot. And I don't know if he is in his home in Houston or at his in-laws in San Diego. So let me introduce everybody to Mr. Reza Dorrani. Hello, Reza.
Hello, Belinda. Thank you for having me on the show. Super excited. And yes,
we
I'm
are
actually... too. I am in California right now. I am in sunny San Diego.
Oh, not too far from Steve, then.
Love San Diego. Yeah.
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 That's where we were last year, Reza.
Sorry?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where we were last year, around the December timeframe or
The
November
December timeframe.
Yeah, December.
Yeah. Actually, I'd come to California because I was heading over to Barcelona for the Power Platform Summit, and I had a flight from Los Angeles, and that's when the COVID-19 crisis started really taking effect, and California went into lockdown, and I
and there you
kind
are.
of came to a decision that I will stick here. And here I am.
Yeah, the Washington D.C. Power Platform World Tour was the last time I was anywhere, and we actually made a germ station. We had a big bottle of hand sanitizer, and we gave it out as a gift at the end. You know, the unused portion. So. Probably, and she accidentally left it there, and I'm like, you know, that's probably worth about $300 now on the black market. Well, today, everybody, we're in for a real treat. For those of you who don't know our story of how we started doing this, the 3 of us, Steve and Mariano and myself, were sending emails back and forth to each other about what we were doing in the Power Platform, and then our conversation moved to Twitter. Steve said he had something cool. I said, I want to see that. Then all of a sudden, someone else popped in and said, I want to see that too. So we just started bringing our share to everybody. And so you could chime in and say anything that you'd like to say to us or ask any question. And occasionally, this is only the 2nd time we've brought in a guest, so that they could show us what they're doing too. And I am ever astounded by some of the things that Reza has done. Steve and Mariano, they motivate me and inspire me on a regular basis. And I have to say now, every time I sit in a room with Reza, the same thing has started happening. So quite delighted about that. So Reza, I'm going to make you the presenter. And then why don't you show us some of the things that you have going on?
Sure. So it says you've been authorized as a presenter. I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yep. Well,
Yes.
not yet, but it's getting there. There we go.
All right. So the goal for today is going to be for me to show you 4 things. The first one that I will be demonstrating is a small section on Power Apps components. The next thing I will get to is the new mixed reality features. I will be talking about the geospatial components in Power Apps, and I will show you a live demo of what those components can do for you in your Power Apps. The mixed reality based controls will be demoed by Mariano, and I will also show you how to style Power Virtual Agents. So whatever I'm going to be showcasing today is more or less new or things that I have not shown before for sure. So let's get started.
That makes me happy.
Assuming you guys can see my
Yep,
screen.
that makes me happy. We got the scoop.
All right, so I think we'll start off with the components. And the first thing I would like to showcase are a couple of new components that I have not yet shared, and I'm planning to share this in the community shortly. So let's begin with that. And I'm heading over to Power Apps, and I'm heading over to component libraries. Now, if you've never heard of component libraries before, component libraries enable you to build components that can be utilized across all your apps. And what are components? Components are reusable controls that you can build once and reuse across all the screens and apps in your current environment. Now, in this environment of mine, which is the PowerAddX environment, I have a component library that I created called PowerAddX component library. And in this component library, I have pre-created a set of components like Bing Maps, header controls, and so on and so forth. Now, for today's purpose, I will showcase 2 components that I have been working on. One of them is a captcha-based component, and you've ever seen a captcha control before. What it enables you to do, so let me go ahead and add a new screen first. I'm just going to create a blank new screen. And in this screen, I'm going to go ahead and insert my captcha component. Now, this is a responsive component that I have built. And what do I mean by responsive is if I increase the length or if I increase the height, right? As this scales, the component also is responsive to the available space, and it can automatically resize based on the height and width of the component. So it's built with responsiveness in mind. As you can see, it's putting out random alphanumeric characters for me. And if I play this app right now, if I enter these numbers, the captcha is matched, and it's more like a challenge question or more like a challenge that you want to throw to your users before they submit a form. Nowadays, we have robotic process automation. Anybody can automate a process of filling a form out, and maybe you want to throw in a challenge in your apps. This control could come in relatively handy there. I also have a refresh captcha option. So if you click on the refresh captcha, you will notice that it is randomly generating alphanumeric characters for me on the screen. And it's also picking up random colors and assigning those colors to the captcha. Now this component, I'm going to create a label right here. So this component, which is right now called captcha2, gives me an output property called captcha validated. So right now it's false. If I play my screen, as I enter the values, the moment it matches the challenge that is posted in the captcha, this value is going to change to true. If I enter something incorrect, that value will consistently be false. So what does this control give me is the ability to place this in forms or in apps and leverage the captcha functionality. The beauty of components is my power users do not have to understand how how I even went ahead to build this component. All they need to understand is that you just need to drop this component in your app, and this component has an output property that gives you a true or a false based upon the captcha being validated.
I have a question for you, Reza.
Yes.
Since you resized that component live on this particular screen, if you were to go into the component setup in this app and make a change to it, what would happen to the size on that screen?
So if I'm heading over now to the component in this app, so right now I am in the component section and I have picked the captcha component. If you look at the controls that are associated with each of these components, so for example, the image itself, right? If I look at the width property for this, the width is relative to the parent, and the parent is the component. That means if I was to resize my component, the width of my image control will be relative to the width of my component. And that's how the responsiveness aspect comes in. So it's not a hard-coded width. I have not hard-coded a width here that says 200 or 300. Now, can I do that? Yes, I can. But my control in that case would always be limited to that width. Because I have defined the width as parent.width, when I head back to my screen, as I change the width, notice that the entire component changes its behavior because they are all relative to the parent, which is the component. I hope I was able to answer your question, Belinda.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
Right. Now let's look at a scenario where I would probably use this. So we have an app called Service Desk. It's a template that Microsoft has put out. And all I've done right now is gone ahead and created an app utilizing one of the existing templates. And once this app loads, if I need to utilize the components that I have created in my component library within an application, I need to go to the left-hand navigation, click on the plus icon, which is the Insert Controls section. At the bottom, there is an option called Get Components. When you click on this, it takes you to a screen that highlights all the component libraries you have access to. And within this, you can pick and choose the components that you want to import within your app. These just import the definitions of the components that I am importing into my app. And those components show up right here under a section called Library Components. So if you notice in this scenario, I have already installed my captcha app right here, or my captcha control into my application. Now, if I was to play this app and go to the create a ticket screen, I was testing something last night. If you notice right here at the bottom is my captcha control. Now what I'm going to do for the demo purpose is I'm going to delete this control. If I want to add this control into a screen in my existing app, all I need to do is click on the captcha control, head back to my screen. So here's my create page screen, and here is my captcha control. Place the control within the canvas. So I'm going to cut this for now. I'm going to head back to my components. I'm going to make sure I have the latest version of my captcha component. Yes, I do. I'm going to go ahead and create a new screen right here. I am going to click on captcha. So here's my captcha control. Once again, notice it is responsive. So depending upon the width that I have in my screen or the real estate that I have, I can adjust my captcha component right here. And let's say I go ahead and add a very simple button, and this button is called submit. Now maybe my use case is until and unless the user enters the correct captcha, I do not want to enable the submit button. So how would I play this out in this scenario? Here's my app and here's my control. I'm going to copy the control. I'm going to go to the button. The button has a property called mode or display mode. I'm going to just write small logic here. I'm going to say if the captcha control dot validated, that means if the captcha is valid, then put the button in edit mode, otherwise disable the button for me. Very simple logic here. If I play this app right now, if you notice the button is disabled, And this button will only be enabled if the user enters the correct captcha value that he's looking at right now. He can obviously go ahead and refresh or reload a new captcha or a new challenge for him that he can answer. The moment I plug in the correct values of the captcha, you will notice that the button comes alive. So here's an example of a component that I built. I'll show you what this component comprises of. I'll show you how the component was built, but the usage is very similar. So if I have an app maker and he wants to leverage the captcha control, all he had to do was drop the control on the screen and just utilize the captcha validated output property and use it in his app. The app maker does not have to worry about how the control is built. He does not have to worry about the colors. He does not have to worry about anything. All is handled for him by the component that was pre-created. Any questions so far? Okay.
Yeah, Reza, it
Nope.
seems like we have a little bit of video
Lag.
and sound
Audio.
jittery. So
Yeah.
I think if we can disable our videos, that would probably help some of the folks
Okay.
on the call.
Good
Let me-
thinking, Mariano.
All right, does it help now? I've gone ahead and disabled my video.
Let's see if maybe
Not
somebody on
not
the
yet.
call can let us know.
No, I could see a warning error. I'm trying to change the latency, but meanwhile, you know what? I wonder if I end the stream and restart it. Let me.
No,
Oh,
the
this is
audio
supposed
still
to be
choppy
easier.
on YouTube, unfortunately.
Yeah. This one is supposed to be easier. I'm going to have to try something else. This system we have outside of.
It's okay. I think I just posted the link to the presentation
Oh, it
itself.
online? Okay.
So yeah, so hopefully folks will
Oh,
join us
okay.
on this channel rather than trying to watch the video live. So let's see.
Oh, good thinking. Okay. All right. So keep on talking, Reza.
Yep, and
All
you
right.
can re-enable your video. I think everybody's gonna try to join us on this channel
Where did you
Good
post the
thinking.
link, Mariano?
on YouTube.
Okay, I'm not seeing it.
I'm
It's
not either.
it's if you scroll down on YouTube on the chat, you will see it.
I think it's blocked. I only see Beat and Uday. I do not see
Yep.
any posts by you.
Yeah, that might be the case. Let me see if I can get it without the.
I'm trying as well. See if I could open this up.
Okay, I'm gonna
We
try
used
to.
to use, we tried before, Reza, we tried Google Hangouts, and in that one,
Didn't work out.
the quality was so low.
Yeah. Why not
And
Teams?
let's see. This one has a connection to YouTube Live right away.
Right.
And I think I might have to just go to, I've been thinking about going to Teams and then going back to
Teams.
OBS.
Yeah.
But yeah. See.
So I just
Belinda, if you
tried
can,
pasting the
if you,
link. Are you
Yeah.
guys seeing it in YouTube?
No.
no,
Okay,
it doesn't
so yeah,
seem to be
YouTube's
allowing
blocking.
any link posting.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, anti-spam.
Yeah.
Can you update
Maybe
the
Belinda, you
description,
can.
Belinda?
Yeah.
Or we can redo this as a different platform or recorded session.
Yeah, we could. Let me try this. All right.
I actually am trying this. Yeah, I tweeted the link. So what I had to do was I had to drop the HTTPS www, but the link should be there.
Okay.
Let me tweet the link, actually. That's a good idea, Uday. Thank you. So for those of you who follow me, just go to Twitter quickly, and you will be able to see the link there as well.
Oh, I hope they could get in. Let's see. Yeah, I can't get in to change the bit rate because we've already started.
That's fine. That's fine, Belinda. I just tweeted the link on Twitter. So hopefully folks will be able to join us.
Yeah,
Technology,
so.
folks.
Technology. Yeah, well,
Sometimes
that's the fun. That's the good fun of it.
Sometimes it's well, we wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for that, would we?
Exactly.
Ah.
Okay,
What,
I
it's
think folks
really
are gonna
cool what
catch
you're
up.
showing.
Folks
Yeah.
are gonna catch up with us. So I don't know if you guys want to continue running this, or while people jump over.
Well, let's talk for a moment to give people some time to join
Okay.
in. One of the things that I would like to talk about, since you were showing us these oh, I can't even remember what they're called now. The components, the reusable components.
Yeah.
I'm struggling finding and the capsule was a great example. But I'm struggling finding some really good examples of when and how to use these, besides things like headers.
So I think the next one hopefully will give you a good example. The dialog control.
Okay.
How many times have you gone into an app and wished you had a control that automatically pops up a dialog for you?
Yeah,
So
I can see that.
Yeah, this is mainly for things that you keep reusing across your screens. So if you build something more than once, you should have that as a component, even if you're using it within your app. Because what components enables you to do is you can reuse that not just within your app, but you can expand that further with component libraries and have or use them across your apps. Moreover, you can build properties into components to make them dynamic. So the component does not have to show the same values every time. It could behave differently depending upon an input property that gets supplied to the component. So in my scenario, and this is something that I frequently use in almost all my apps, is there was no map component in Power Apps, although today I'm going to be demoing the map component. It's right now in private preview, so I needed one, so I went ahead and built one. I built a big map component. Header is something really standard, you know, dialog, footer menus, bars, indicators, navigations, captchas, rating controls. You can think of a lot of scenarios wherein you have these set of controls that you keep rebuilding over and over again across all your screens.
Yeah, and I guess maybe that's it. I should just think about it a little bit more. But yeah, it's true. And I like the idea of the map one itself. It's just sometimes I kind of struggle with getting that done a little bit. And I guess even getting the gallery set up exactly the way you want. That might be. Could you use a gallery in a component?
Unfortunately, the issue with galleries is you can use a gallery, but right now you cannot supply a data source other than the out-of-the-box data sources like Office 365 users and maybe your mailbox. You cannot go, you cannot span beyond that today. But once those capabilities come in, I think galleries is going to be a very good use case wherein I have a particular style defined and all I have to do is just connect my data set to it.
Right.
But today, that is not a possibility unless you pass a collection to it.
Yeah, it's just, I was thinking about some of the setup. I think that would be something done a little bit easier because, you know, I've seen a couple people format or do the user experience within Power Apps, particularly within the gallery, a lot different than the default gallery out of the box. And it really does change the way the screen looks and feels among users. So I think that's pretty cool. All right. right. So why don't you go on and go to the next demonstration?
All right. So I'm going to go ahead to the next part. And should I keep my video closed down so that we don't consume a lot of bandwidth?
That's I don't think it's gonna make a difference, but that's up to you.
Okay.
Yeah, up to
I
you.
will turn it on. You guys can see.
Yay!
So the next one that I'm going to demonstrate is a very simple dialogue control or a dialogue component that I built. Once again, a very common use case in Power Apps. You have users going ahead and trying to build a pop-up menu or a dialogue component, as they call it. And you don't want your users to keep building the same set of controls over and over again with different logic applied to it. So once again, I went ahead and built a component called the dialogue component. And this component has a lot of input properties, as you can see. One of them is called buttons. So you can dynamically pass buttons to this component. So if I want to create multiple buttons down here, all I need to do is pass a collection of buttons to this component. There is also something called as color. So if I pass a color value to this component, automatically the value of this component will change. Even the little image that you see here is configurable because I have built an input property wherein the user can supply a type, and based on the type, I will change the image that is displayed here. And even the image will respect the color. So a component that basically builds this pop-up menu out for me when I'm utilizing this in my apps. Heading back out to the same application, my service desk application. In this scenario, in this screen, I already have my dialogue component right here. And if I play this app, right next to created by and priority, I have these information icons that I plugged in here. I just wanted to show you a couple of different flavors of how this same component can be utilized. So if I click on this, notice it creates this pop-up for me. And I chose the color red for this purpose. So I dynamically passed a color value to my component. So it shows red. And this is a tip that I'm giving. So it's showing me the logo for the tip. It has the description right here. And it has a button where I can just go ahead and close the pop-up. Now, if I do the same thing on the priority dialog control, there's just one dialog control on the screen. It's just that I'm passing values to it dynamically using variables in Power Apps. So just one control, and I can use it multiple times on the same screen. Now, if I click on the pop-up for priority, you will notice that it's actually the same control. The difference is the colors have changed. The icon has changed, the text has changed, the description has changed, and even the button text has changed. So you can change things and provide things dynamically to this component, and the component will change its behavior.
OMG.
And this component is responsive. So if I was to use the same component in a tablet application, you would see the height, the width, everything would be different. And it always sits in the middle of your screen. If you notice my app, it's sitting bang on in the middle of the height and width of the screen, right in the center point. That's because there's logic that I have plugged into my component that makes it sit right in the middle. Now, if I wanted to change things in this component, so let me play this app and close this. So let's say when I click on this little icon right here, I'm actually setting those properties. I'm setting the color. So you see, I'm setting the color to green. Let's say I change this to orange. My description. So let's say I'm going to change my description to Power Platform Share, right? I'm changing my description. I'm changing the color. I'm changing the dialogue of this to hello. Now, if I play the app and if I just click on this, you will notice that the entire component changed, right? It changed the title, it changed the description, it changed the color, it changed the image. Even the SVG, the image that I built, is incorporating the theme that I passed over. So you can use things like these. You can build these components that are reusable. And as an app maker, all I need to know is how do I add this component, which is literally 2 clicks. And then what I need is a little bit of documentation around what properties do I need to support to this component. So if you as the component builder, so I'll call out a new role in your organization, component builder. So if you are a person who builds components in your organization, you need to also think of documentation, and you need to also think about how your app makers are going to leverage this in their apps, and you need to make it easy for them to leverage these components.
That is
So
so stinking awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Very cool.
So two very simple examples here, a capture component and a dialog component. In this app, the left navigation here is also a component, by the way. The header is a component. So many things that you're looking at in this app are actually components. And in order to build a screen like this, it took me 5 minutes because I have all the components pre-created and I don't have to recreate the same controls over and over again.
When are you doing a video on this?
So I've already done 4 videos on components on my YouTube channel. I am doing 2 more. One is on the capture control, wherein I will show you step by step how that control is built. And then another one is on the dialog component. David yesterday on the Power Apps community call showcased a very powerful dialog component as well, extremely powerful. And I feel like if we merge the two together, we might have an even better dialog component. So that's the thing. You need to build things and you need to share things with the community and improve those components over time.
Wow, that's awesome.
Very
That
cool.
was part 1 of my demo. This was purely on components.
Mariano, I hear, yeah,
Sorry,
I
go
hear
ahead.
Mariano's wheels spinning all the way from here.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
when I originally, when components originally came out, I also had built a numeric up and down control. And that's also a perfect example, because if you think about it, most of the time when you are trying to enter data on a mobile app, you don't want to have to be clicking or typing as much as you can. So you want to simplify data entry for the user. Things like those facilitate that data entry. But you know, these are very cool practical examples of what is possible when you have, you know, the time and the ability to build and reuse these platform capabilities. So you know,
No,
very good examples, Reza, definitely.
Thank you.
Reza, are all of the controls free, or are there packs that you can purchase of professional controls, or if you wanted to sell your controls, can they be monetized?
Currently, I don't think there is any way of monetizing these components. So these are currently in preview. So we need to all be aware of this, that components are not generally available yet. They are available in public preview. They are supposed to go into GA in April, but due to COVID-19, there may be a delay in the global availability of components. I am very hopeful that it will go GA by the end of this month. If not, rest assured, hopefully by May, this should be GA. Now, all the components currently, that Microsoft has put out a set of 10 free components that you can use. It includes dialogue, it includes maps. It has a lot of things that you can reuse. You can go ahead and extend them. Most of the components that I demoed, or I have on my YouTube channel as well, those are extensions of out-of-the-box components that Microsoft has provided. So you don't have to start from scratch. You can pick someone else's component and add more things to it, or even make it responsive like I have. And right now, components are absolutely free to use. There is no way you can sell them, but you can be kind enough and share it for all our community members on the community forum. So that's my that's my answer to your question on monetizing components right now. Okay, moving ahead to the next part of the demo. This one is on. Yes.
Hold on, Reza. You know, there is one way you can monetize it a bit, Steve, is if you build the components, you can export them and keep them in your own personal library. And then as you do work for a consultant, or for those who are, for a customer, for those of you who are consultants listening in, then you can include that as part of your final solutions. It's not a direct monetizing, but it is a way to make it happen.
And that's what I do today, Belinda. I have my own professional set of components that my organization has a library wherein we maintain these components. So consultants have access to that. So when they go to a client, they can straight away leverage a component library that's built in-house, and we can use that across clients and save time, not just for the clients, but also for themselves.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how fast you could build an app for somebody if you're
Exactly.
doing that.
This can cut down your app building to by another 50% if you have the right set of components pre-built.
That is correct.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's on components. I'm going to head over to the next part of my demo. This one is on a new feature in Power Apps available in private preview today. And at the end of this session, Mariano and I will share links for you to go ahead and sign up for the private preview. Hopefully after this demo, I would have convinced you to sign up for the private preview. So first thing to note is currently there is no inbuilt map component available in Power Apps. There's nothing where you can add a map. Even if you come to the point of adding a map using Bing static map APIs, which I did for one of the components that I shared in the community, those maps are static. Now you can go ahead and build PCF controls, which are Power Apps component framework controls that leverage Azure Maps, and you can build dynamic maps. But then once you head into the realm of PCS, you are literally into the pro code space. You are no longer in the low code Power Platform mode. Although PCF is meant for professional devs to come in and extend the platform further. Now, as part of the new release, which is currently only in private preview, there are two new components or controls that are now available as part of this private preview, and they are related to geospatial features. And I'm going to showcase both those controls right now in a brand new app that I'm creating from scratch. Now, in order for me to import those controls, I need the bits for those controls. For the sake of this demo, I already have the bits in my system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on import. In fact, I am in the wrong tenant, so I'm going to switch over to the right tenant. And I'm going to click a new app. I'm going to call this Geospatial. And I'm going to create a simple Canvas app using the phone layout. And once my app is ready, I am going to go ahead and import a couple of components that are enabled in my tenant because I was able to join the private preview and install those components. One of them is called a map, and the other one is called address input. I'm going to first use the map control. So all I'm doing right now is importing that custom control into my app. And if I want to drag and drop the map control, all I have to do is on the left-hand navigation under code components, I have the option for map. I'm going to click on this and it's going to go ahead and add the control. I'm going to zoom very small right now because it's going to show my location. So this control has an option that shows my location. I can turn that off and I'm going to do it right away. And now I am going to go ahead and open up the new map control. I'm going to play this. So if you've never seen this, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. It's a dynamic map control. You can change the direction. You can zoom in, zoom out, of course. And you can also change the pitch of your map, right? So I can go as out as I feel like. I can zoom in as much as I want. And this is a new control or a component that's available as part of the geospatial features. Now for the purpose of this demo.
Can we lay data over that? Are you about to do that now?
That's what I'm going to do next.
Yay!
So here's my map control. So here's my map control, and there is a property available called current location. If I turn it on, it will actually showcase my current location on the map, and it does that by default. I have turned it off for this purpose. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and connect to a data source, and in this case, because Reza loves SharePoint, his data source is SharePoint. So I'm going to connect to my SharePoint site, and I have a list in SharePoint that has locations of Power Platform World Tour locations. So it's just a list. that has a few addresses in there. And just to show you the data in the list, I'm going to drop a gallery on the screen. I'm going to change the type of this gallery to just show the title and description. I'm going to plug it here, and I'm going to connect this to my data source. So all this gallery has right now, if I play this, is a title and addresses. That's it. Okay. Now, if I want to plot this on the map, okay, now for the purpose of this demo, I have already gone ahead and pre-created the code. I'm going to go ahead and add a button control on my screen. And what this button is going to do is it's going to load data into the map. Okay, so I'm going to call this load data. When the user clicks on this button, what I want to do is I want to collect data. So I'm going to go ahead and collect the data in a collection. And this map expects data to be in a particular format. It has to be a collection that has two properties in it: the label that you want to show in the map and the address of the control. Okay. All I have to do then is when I play this app and I load the data, this data will get into a collection. I'll show you what the collection looks like. The collection just has the addresses in there and it has the labels in there. Now, when I go to this map, there's a property called data source. If I give the collection to this data source, I can even give the SharePoint list, but the problem is the SharePoint list does not have those properties that the map expects right now. So if I give the collection and if I play the app right now, all these locations are now plotted on the map. I'm going to try and expand this map further so that we see it more clearly. There's not a lot of real estate for me to play with here. So I'm going to play this again. Now, as I zoom into the map, notice how all the points are plotted for me. So here's the Atlanta Power Platform World Tour location event mapped right here. Here's the Houston event. Here's the Phoenix event. Here is probably San Diego and Anaheim. These were the events last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I can
Very
dynamically plot data on the map, and this data can come from any data source of your choice. And not just that,
Yeah.
you can also have colors defined for the pins of your map. So there are a lot of properties that you can play with, and in the interest of time, I'm going to keep this very simple. So if I want to plot the points as red color, I can now play this, and those points will now become red. So you can dynamically define what the properties are looking like for this map. You can pass data to it, and those points will be plotted on the map.
Can you
I mean,
plot?
think about how much time it would take to build something like that if you had to write it from scratch, right? Here you're doing
Just think about it.
this kind of stuff in 2 or 3 clicks, and changing a couple properties here and there.
Right.
You're right. You're right. Can you plot longitude and latitude? Does it have to be an address?
Yes. So it can be both. You can either give an address, and if the address is valid, it will plot it on the map. Or what you can also do alternatively, and let me show you that option as well. So I'm not trying to sell my app, but this was an application that I did a week ago. And this one is the COVID-19 tracking application, and there goes my location, by the way. This is actually utilizing the same control in a completely different application where I'm tracking data for COVID-19 that's coming from the Johns Hopkins University. This is that same map control that I have right here. And now if you notice, if I change the type of cases, so if I want to look at only active cases in the world, the map changes dynamically. That's because the collection that I'm passing to the map is different. The color that I'm passing is different. The data points that I'm passing is different. And in this case, I only have the latitude and longitude available as part of the web service. So you can go both ways. You can pass coordinates or you can pass the addresses. The map component is smart enough to handle both for you. And then you have other settings as well. Like if I want to show the map in satellite mode, I can do things like that. So a lot of other properties that you can play with. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep this short. So that's what the map control looks like. Any other questions on the map control?
No, I'm just in awe.
All right, let me show you another control. Now, how many times in Power Apps have we gone ahead and we have an address field wherein we want the user to put in an address? And many a times we build 5 or 6 controls for it because we want the city, the state, the zip, right? We want all that information from an address component. Now, as part of this new release, once again, I'm going to go ahead and import this new component. And this component is called the address input component. So I'm going to import this component into my app. I'm going to go ahead and create a new screen. And in this case, I'm going to add this control. If I play the app, and as I start typing into this control, it's a smart control. It maps to all live addresses in the world. Now check this out. If I
Get
go
out
and
of
type
town.
10370 Richmond, so this is my office location, Richmond. You see, as I'm typing, it's a smart control. It's going ahead and getting actual live address information for me. And I can go ahead and choose the address. Now,
My mouth is hanging open.
Which service are you using for the address lookup?
Azure. It uses Azure Map Services. All of this.
Azure Maps. Okay. Nice.
Azure Maps. All of this. Now, if I want to fetch individual data out from this control, of course, this control is named very poorly right now, so I'm going to just rename this. And let's say I want the zip code. So let's do component dot the country. So you see, the country is United States of the address that I picked. If I do component dot, let's say I want the postal code, so it's going to give me the zip code. So this one component, this one control can output so many different elements for me that I can leverage. And I'll show you a classic case where I've used this. If I head back to my
you've just added ROI to anyone that needs to enter in an address. I mean, you have just made it harder for them to say, oh, no, Power Apps won't work. Oh, wow.
Exactly. And I've used this in one of my the COVID-19 application as well. So one of my screens in the COVID-19 app basically tracks your location. So what if I want to track a different address and look at COVID-19 cases around that address? So if I pick address, this address is actually that same address input component that I showcased earlier. Now if I start plugging in an address, so let's say 10370 Richmond Avenue, Houston, Texas. Notice how it plotted it right here on the map. Plus it is showing me COVID-19 cases in a 300-mile radius around the location that I mapped. And this is the address component, and this is the new geospatial map component. So both these components are working together to give you a more powerful experience.
Wow.
Super cool.
That's cool?
Yep.
It sure
super cool.
is.
All right. Any other questions on address input or geospatial?
Let's see if we have anybody that is watching us asking questions. So they asked, does this store the coordinates by longitude and latitude, or just the address?
The address component, you have to put in the address, and then it will return you the latitude and longitude.
Yep.
That's what the address component does, just the address component.
Right, but the map you
That's
said
cool.
could use longitude and latitude.
Yes, the map can use both. You can also do things like geofencing in the address component. So for example, if I only want to show addresses in Texas, I can actually geofence that component just to Texas. So then when I'm searching for addresses, it will only auto-populate addresses that are in Texas. So you can do geofencing as well.
Very cool.
That is cool.
That was part 2 of my demo. And now heading over to part 3. This one is, I'm trying to cover everything. So we covered components, we covered geospatial. Now we will look at branding Power Virtual Agents.
Well, let me pause you for a second, because we've got about 13 more minutes, and and I want you to use up all the time that you can. But if I promise to switch to Teams and let Teams work with YouTube Live, will you come back in 2 weeks and take time? So I don't want you to rush.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. Cool. Because I don't want to rush this. This is, you blow me away every time. And it wouldn't hurt if you come back to show everyone the location
Yeah,
the app
sure.
that you built, because you know that's one of my favorites. And so, okay, so what can you show in 13 more minutes, and then all four of us will redo this again in 2 weeks.
All right, so the next thing that I would like to showcase, which is probably will take me 5 minutes, is Power Virtual Agents. So as part of the same COVID-19 application that I put out in the community, I also built a very simple bot using Power Virtual Agents. The goal of this demo is not to show you how I built the bot. The bot in itself is very self-explanatory. But Power Virtual Agents in general is very plain. It has a very plain vanilla look and feel to it. And when you go to publish your bot, and if you go to channels, and let's say if I go to a custom website, and let's say I copy the link of my bot. Now, if I was to paste the bot in a browser window, or if I was to use this bot in any other location, this is how the bot looks like, right? It's very plain vanilla, right? I have this green logo on the top, right? I have this box wherein I can put in the message, and I'm going to say hi. The bot is going to respond to me. It has the logo. Now, the branding of this bot is very, very simple, right? And there was no option to make any changes to the look and feel of your bot. Now, as part of the COVID-19 application, I wanted to incorporate my bot into my Power App. And once again, there is no control or component that is available for you to do that today. However, one of the MVPs, Yash Agarwal, he built a PCF component, which basically allows you to iframe anything into your Power Apps as long as it has CORS, CORS, cross origin request sharing enabled for it. So what I did is in my Power App, I actually incorporated his component that he shared in the community. And then I built my bot, which is my simple Power Virtual Agent. And all I did is I plugged in the URL into the iframe, and I have my Power Virtual Agent show up right within my Power App. But the issue was the branding of my bot. Now in this case, you can see the bot is already branded and it matches the same colors as my app. But when you bring the bot over, it is very plain vanilla, and there's not a lot of things you can do with it. Now, not many probably would have seen this blog post that Microsoft put out last week actually, or maybe 10 days ago. There is a new option now in wherein you can go ahead and you can brand certain things in your bot. And all you have to do is you need to build a very simple HTML file and host this HTML file on a location that once again has CORS enabled. And in this HTML file that they have put out, I have actually gone ahead and put this in Visual Studio Code as well. The goal here is not to scare anyone. Just wanted to show you simple HTML here. There are certain things that you can change in your bot. So for example, the background color. I changed it to purple. Okay. The other example is the avatar images for the user and the bot. I picked up a couple of images from the web and I just plugged it in here. So you can make changes. So you can change certain design elements in your vanilla looking Power Virtual Agent bot. And all I did is I went ahead and just branded it. And now if I head back to my app, it is the same bot, but it's branded. So now if I go ahead and I say hi, notice how it gives the user avatar image. That's the image that I plugged into that HTML file. And you can see I picked up an image from the web that looks like a bot. So you can brand things in your Power Virtual Agents as well. So a very simple example. Of course, if you I'll post a link to the blog as well. If you read that, it's very simple. It clearly highlights the colors that you can change and what changes can you make to the standard canvas of a web chat or a Power Virtual Agent for that matter.
I like that.
So that was my third demo, a very simple one on how to brand a PVA bot in Power Apps for that matter.
I like it.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
Mariano, have you been doing much with Power Virtual Agent?
Yeah, I have actually two videos that I've actually created on my YouTube channel.
Mhm.
So you can check them out there. But from a practical perspective, what we're trying to do is figure out ways to incorporate that into our Mekorma end user portal. So we have a customer portal currently, a customer partner portal, and we're trying to incorporate this type of technology into assisting with support issues.
Interesting. What about you,
Yep.
Steve? Have you been playing with it?
No, I have not. I'm still focused. I've dabbled in Power Apps and Power Automate, but have not gone into the new features.
I'm
Yeah,
actually working on a Power Virtual Agent bot right now that basically does governance of Microsoft Teams. So users can
really?
interact with the bot and request the creation of a team. I'm actually planning to demo that as the Business Application Summit this year.
Nice.
Maybe I can come back on your channel later on, and if you want me to
Yes.
demo the bot, I can actually
Oh,
showcase what that bot does for
you
you.
are
You are
always
always
welcome.
welcome.
Yeah.
We
You're
have a
always
question in
welcome.
the
And we
YouTube
didn't
chat.
plan that, by the way. So you saw how spontaneous that came out.
Yeah. Steve's right. We got a question. How can you configure the virtual agent to tap into a set of FAQ questions, i.e. enterprise or business related?
Yeah. So if you actually go to WHO Q&A page, this is exactly what I did for this bot. So if I head over to the World Health Organization question and answer page again, I need to figure out for COVID-19 page, COVID-19, I think they have a Q&A page right here. So you see, the World Health Organization has a web page out there that has all these questions and answers. And this is exactly what I did for this bot. All you need to do is go to Power Virtual Agents, go to Topics, and they have an option called Suggest Topics. Just plug in the link to the web page. And once I click on Start, what this will do is it will go and scan the web page and grab topics from the web page. And that's exactly what I did. Once you do that, all the Q&As that you see on this web page will be available as topics that you can use in your bot. So all these questions that you see are actually Q&As from the World Health Organization website that I grabbed by using this feature. Took me 2 minutes to build this bot.
For the Atlanta World Tour, Daniel Christensen demoed the virtual agent by connecting to the schedule for the event. Yeah, so he scheduled to the he connected to the schedule so he could just look up questions and look up things, which I thought was a really cool use of the bot. Yeah, you and Mariano and Steve are real good at getting one little thing in particular and honing in on it and coming up with uses for it. I have to think of like the whole practical use case for it all the way from beginning to end. Guess that's what citizen developer brain thinks differently than you guys. So, and then Beat also asked, could there also be a SharePoint list? Oh, yeah. So could the virtual agent? I'm assuming he's asking. Yeah. Could the virtual agent connect to SharePoint list?
Yes, it can. So virtual agent can talk to anything, and the way it does that is through 2 ways. So for power users, and I consider myself a power user, a virtual agent can talk to Power Automate, and once you get into the realm of Power Automate, the whole world is open for you. So you can talk to any data source of your choice. There is also another option. Yeah, go ahead, Mariano.
In pointing out to Beat that I also have a video that shows PVA being used with Dynamics GP. So, you know, I'm just going to refer him to that.
Get out of town. You do?
There you go.
All right.
Ahead of the curve.
That's what I tried doing right away from the beginning with the virtual agent. I'm like, oh, if I can connect to a particular view, then I could really do some really cool things with it. And I just beat my head on a rock for a while, and then I haven't had time to get back to it. And I could see the simplicity of it, but just couldn't quite get to it. So
Yeah, the key address I was mentioning here is effectively being able to leverage Power Automate as the conduit to go and get the type of data that you're looking for and pass that back to your PVA chatbot to do some sort of action with that information. So whether that's a response to the user based on a query or simply providing, you know, a resolution path to something else, that's pretty much what you would do with that data.
You could easily do it with things that, this kind of goes back to this discussion we had the other day about whether, like, if you have a data, an application that you use that has a data source like SQL Server on-prem, do you do anything in Power Apps that automatically updates the SQL? And you were pretty straight, no, you do an in-between and you do something accordingly. And I was of the like, oh, well, but if it only affects that one table and you know that how the application works and it's not going to break it, then I'm okay with making that one change. So under that respect, you could have it, like, for example, put a customer on hold because that's just a Boolean switch. So that's a cool idea.
But see, this is kind of where, and I know Steve is going to cringe at this, but this is kind of where things like SBA come into play, because those are very specific actions. And I am actually of the conviction that if you can leverage, if you can avoid going directly to the tables and making changes directly to the data and leverage any sort of API that is available, you are much better for it than you know, than anything else. That's where very specific actions like those, you know, would be a great way of leveraging things like SBA. And you can create custom connectors around SBA. You know that, Belinda. You do custom connectors all the time. So that's kind of that's kind of the kind of stuff that I would really seriously consider rather than writing directly to the tables. But that's a different conversation.
I get that. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Okay, so we're going to do this again in 2 weeks, and this time, guys, we're going to use Teams so we don't have as much problems. I should have done that to start with, because the first thing out of Reza's mouth was, "Why don't you use Teams?" And
this is a dry run for us in 2 weeks' time. How about that?
Yeah. Thank you guys for attending, and yeah, so thanks for being part of our opportunity to share with each other. I am so excited. I know Mariano and Steve are too, that you agreed, Reza.
Thank you so much for having me on the call, and I look forward to coming back soon.
Yeah, love having you, and please, you're welcome to stop by anytime. The only one thing that I really want to point out to everybody listening to us is, you know, go to our YouTube channels. We have tons of materials there. Reza's YouTube channel is full of very cool samples. You know, Steve has a great YouTube channel, Belinda, and myself. It's all Power Platform related, so just go and find us on YouTube. And thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody stay safe and look for our tweets about our next one in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
thank you, Reza.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Reza.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.